Hey guys, what's up? Ryze TriKz here. I just wanted to do a video about something that I feel as if should be talked about, kind of. But it's basically just going to be about competitive versus pubs. Because I know I've had a lot of people talk to me before. I've gotten in fights with people in public matches after I've lost, or I've had people been watching me and I've died and made mistakes in public matches, you know, whatever. And I've heard people talk so much trash in a public match and yada 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 yada. And I feel as if there's like, people are so judgmental, like, on like, they think they're better than you when they watch you make a mistake or something. But there's so many variables that come into play, you know. Just because you have a high KD or you have a high win-lose or whatever it is, doesn't mean you're a good player, and it doesn't mean that you're going to win. And there's just a lot of aspects that come into play. And I definitely think competitive players are much better than public players. And I think, like, so many people, I've played public matches, and, you know, I'll get blown up by C4 or something like that, and I've had people been like, man, if I was playing against you, I'd tear you up or something. And it's like, you gotta understand, though, in public matches, there's a lot of people who just now have gotten the game or are low level or are newer Call of Duty or whatever, and the companies put things in the game that makes it easier for them to get kills. You know, they put care packages in, they put support streaks in, they put C4 in, electrical tampons, aka electrical charge or whatever it is in Black Ops 2. And they put IEDs in Ghost. They put so many different things that are just so easy to get a kill. It's so basic. And I feel as if you shouldn't judge people definitely on getting killed by that stuff, because that stuff is just stupid. And I feel as if anybody who's like, oh, well, I'd tear you up, blah, 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 and then uses that equipment, yeah, if a competitive player used that stuff, which none of them do really, because a competitive player is used to competitive rules, I feel as if they learned and adapted to that, they would just tear up everybody. Because most of the time competitive players stick by competitive rules, even when they're playing public matches. And competitive rules restrict all that stuff. You're not allowed to use, you know, really easy stuff to get kills. And there's a reason, you know, why. Because it's just, it's dumb. You know, it isn't really competitive. If you have somebody who's super skilled getting beat by somebody who's, you know, on average and not really that skilled, then it's not really fair. But at the same time, if you put them, you know, at a fair, you know, match, the more skilled person is always going to win. So they have to put these things in the game, or else nobody would like it, because the average player isn't really a competitive player. The average player is a public, you know, a pub, oh god, he just plays online and he plays by those rules. He doesn't do GBs, he doesn't really, he doesn't get that much into league play, he doesn't get it that much into clans, doesn't, you know, he doesn't get into that stuff. So, it's really, you know, when somebody judges me on that, because I've had people say that before, I've had people talk trash and said that they could beat me or whatever, and then I go and I'm like, well, we can face each other, we can 1v1, we can do whatever, and then I go and I look at their class setup and they got C4 on and electrical tampons and, you know, all this stuff that's like, I don't know, it's just easy to me. It shouldn't really be allowed in it, especially if you're going to talk trash to me about who's, I guess, the more skilled player. Because if you're using that stuff, then you're not really the more skilled player in my mind. The more skilled player is the guy who just knows how to use a gun. He knows how to win gunfights. He knows how to play the objective and things like that. And that's another thing to me, like how people judge people on stats so much. I want to do a video primarily just on that. But I mean, just because you have a high win-lose ratio doesn't mean you're going to win all the time. I mean, you could just play something that's really easy to win, which would be like Team Deathmatch. It doesn't have an objective. And if you just get a high KD, then your win-lose is going to come up. And, you know, just because you have a high KD doesn't mean you're actually going to win a lot, because then if you go in an objective-based game like Demolition or something, if you're primarily only trying to just get a high KD, more than likely you are not going to win that game, because you need to be playing the objective. And then another thing that comes into play with public matches is that you have so many more people in the game, and most of them usually aren't on your team. Most people usually don't party up with, you know, an entire 6 squad, like, man, in a public match or whatever it is. So, like, there's so many more variables that come into play. If you don't have, you know, teammates running on the objectives, and you have terrible teammates, then obviously it's going to be extremely hard for you to win. And that's even the same thing with the competitive. Like, if you go into league play, I couldn't tell you how many times I've gone into league play, and I've gotten terrible teammates, or I've gotten DDoSed, or I've gotten teammates that aren't even playing. This guy peed me off so much the other day. I was playing with this guy, and you could tell he was still playing, but he just sat in the spawn, didn't even move until everybody on the team died, and then he'd start moving. And I ended up getting like almost close to 20 kills or something like that in Search and Destroy, and we still lost. And you know, if somebody's getting that many kills, you should not, you shouldn't be losing, especially with another teammate that had like equally as amount of kills as me almost. I mean, he had super high amount of kills too. You know, that shouldn't happen. You should win, because it's illogical. But you know, there's so many. If he would have been playing, I probably would have won. But you know, he wasn't, and it peed me off extremely bad. And stuff like that happens in competitive all the time. Just because I wasn't partied up with him or whatever. You know, like, if it's your party, obviously it's not going to happen as much. Like if you're playing with a clan or a bunch of buddies or whatever, because you can all talk to each other. But if you go and play league play or whatever, competitively, which is competitive, but it's not really like, it's not like GBs or anything like that, because GBs you don't just find a match with random players. You know, you make a team, you're talking to everybody. Same thing with LAN tournaments, but in so that stuff probably wouldn't happen in GBs or anything like that. But in league play, it kind of gets annoying because so many teammates do stupid crap in it, and so many people DDoS, and so many people just do a bunch of bull crap in it, and it really gets frustrating because I'm a competitive player. I like competitive. And, you know, I played league play, but I wouldn't really ever say I really got into it. I just went over the GBs. But this past week, I've been playing it like a lot, and I've never gotten Masters before until this week, and I got Masters rank 1. And, I mean, it was making me so mad because it just got so frustrating to me that I would get, you know, a rank 1 in Masters, and then I'd get a team with like, you know, no teammates playing, and then I'd end up shooting down to like rank 50, and then it would take, you know, 10 games of winning to get me back up to rank 1 because I didn't have any bonus or whatever it is, or, you know, there's just so many different variables that come into play, and that really got upsetting to me. But I mean, that's just what you have to look at, though. I mean, competitive and pubs are completely two different things, and I'm pretty sure if you put public matches into competitive, they're going to do really bad compared to putting competitive players into public matches. And, you know, there's so many... Before you go off and just say somebody's going to be a crappy player or talk trash or whatever, there's so many variables to consider in that equation. And I think it's just really stupid how so many, you know, players will talk trash about competitive, but, I mean, talk trash to you, and, you know, they've never even played competitive. I also think no public match players should ever even talk trash until they play competitive, just because of that. I mean, public matches are just incredibly easy, and you don't have to know very much compared to a competitive side. You know, everything it's just completely two different things. I mean, there's call-outs, there's just learning how people play is completely different. You know, just everything is completely different, and to me, competitive players are such a higher level of skill than public match. So, anyways, guys, tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys later.